Hi, this is Dominic from Paphos Live. This is the start of a four-part series where we drive around the upper part of the Ezousa Valley. A lot of it will be the route that we feature in our first road trip ebook we did. In part one, we're going through Polemi, then up to Tzada, Agios Dimitrianos, and Kannaviou, and then we finish at the reservoir. As the map unfolds, we'll eventually loop back and end back in Polemi and the B7, which we're on now. That'll be at the end of part 4. In a couple of years' time, this route will look a bit different here because there'll be a bridge going above the road, which will have the motorway on it, the new one they're building. And soon on the left, you'll just be able to see where they're putting in the pillars for another bridge that's going to take the motorway up into Strumby. I don't know what they're going to do about that pylon that's in the way of where the bridge is going to go, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, if you look on the left there now, just coming round, that's where another new bridge is going, and that will have the new motorway on it. And shortly we'll be coming to a petrol station and the junction to Polemi. If you haven't got much petrol, I advise you to stop and refill here if you're following this route, because this is the only petrol station you'll see on the route. To the right of this area here is a place called Polemi Mountain, believe it or not. Now, it doesn't look that much like a mountain, but that's what the locals call it, and if you should walk all the way up to the top of it, you can drive, but I wouldn't advise it unless you got a 4x4. If you walk up way at the top of it, there's a sign that calls it Polemi Mountain too, so it's a mountain. And there's the garage I referred to, and now we're driving into Polemi. And if you kept on going here instead, you'd end up in Polis eventually, after about half an hour. And the first thing we're going to come to on the way into Polemi is the Sodap winery on the right. Sodap is basically all the local vineyard owners got together and they formed a cooperative, and it's called Sodap. It does stand for something, but it's in Greek and it wouldn't make any sense, and I can't remember it. So, but beyond the Sodap winery, and you can do tours there, I believe, you'll find the Polemi concentration camp, and this is if you like, a little museum, and it's a relic to a rather shameful part of Britain's history when it was ruling Cyprus. And you can just, there you go, you can park in there as well and have a little wander around. It won't take you long, it's about 5 or 10 minutes, but it's worth a visit. And coming up here, there's a new little, what do we even call it, a supermarket? It's a fruit market, I guess you'd call it. They sell vegetables and fruit there. It used to be a little place where you could get burgers and stuff, but it seems to have changed that. Oh, you might notice the cypress pines forming an avenue here, and how they've been rather butchered on the right. It makes you wonder, they must have planted the pines there after the telegraph poles. But it's not a good combination because, well, the electricity board has to chop them down, because otherwise they'd take the cables out. Which is why they look a bit stumpy anyway. And we're now entering Polemi. There was a sign saying Polemi Tulip Village on the left because a special type of tulip grows in Polemi and the surrounding fields, and every year we have a tulip festival which is very well attended. We're coming to the central bit of Polemi. Soon we'll hit the shops. First up, there's a second-hand furniture place, and then we have Paphos supermarket. Now, I've got to say good things about Paphos because they're my next-door neighbours. But they're a lovely supermarket anyway, and they're run by great people. And they've got a lovely dog as well. But the little supermarkets, the village supermarkets you get in Cyprus, their prices are a lot close to the bigger supermarkets. It's not like in the UK where you can get mugged basically in some of the little places, but they're not bad here. There's another supermarket just up here as well, which is part of a very small chain of supermarkets, the other one being in Strumby. And there's the charity shop on the right. There's a record shop where you can buy vinyl records, believe it or not. There's quite a few coffee shops here. And that's a cake shop just there. We've just gone past. And there's the municipal building where the Mukhtar resides there. Or works, not resides. And there's also where lots of letterboxes are. And there's a tavern there, Kokkinos. We're following the road round. Now soon we'll come to what's called, I think it's called the Tulip Park now. I did a feature on this a short while ago. You can just see it on the right, that shade. It's in front of the Corner Cafe and Bar. And the Corner Cafe, I have to say, I was very pleasantly surprised when I went there to film for the Tulip Park. It's really nice in there. I definitely recommend you going in there. They have quiz nights there as well. And we're just approaching the schools now. On the left you'll have the junior school, and on the right is the senior school. There was a fire near our villa in Polemi actually a few weeks ago, and it reached up to the back of this school here on the left. I was amazed at the time how quickly the fire went through fields, but fortunately no houses were burned and the fire brigade was on it. Right, you've got the Olive Tree Tavern on the left here now, which is famous for its rather large pork chops. I mean, pork chops in Cyprus are a completely different kettle of fish to what you get in the UK. They're much nicer and much bigger. And on the right here you have, I don't know what it is, I guess it's a playing field for the school. The only time I ever see it getting used is once a year when they have a motocross competition, believe it or not. And the race seems to start and end there. Now we're coming up to Polemi Graveyard, which is on the right. You can see all these trees up ahead. And I'll just surreptitiously overtake that lorry, what was annoying me. And that will be us out of Polemi. We will be returning at the end of this 4-part series. But now we will be approaching the rather difficult to pronounce Psathi. And while we're heading in that direction, I'll just point out, you can't really see it at the moment, but to our right is the Ezousa Valley itself. And I'll give you a little bit of information about the valley. It's famous for the nature you can find there, both the flora and the fauna. There's lots of lovely wildlife there. It's not as accessible as other valleys you get in Paphos, like Xeros Valley. If you want to see some of the most beautiful parts of it, your best bet is to head to the village of Episcopi, which is not to be confused with Episcopi near Limassol. The Episcopi I mean is above Paphos. If you arrive from the direction of Limassol onto the Paphos motorway roundabout and you turn right there, you'll eventually come to Episcopi. Anyway, we're now in Psathi. I don't think there are any shops or even a tavern in Psathi itself. I'm happy to be corrected on that. It does have a bus stop and several post letterboxes, so perhaps there might be something tucked away that I'm unaware of. But in the distance on the hills, you can see there are a number of solar panel farms. I know it's not their correct name, but you know what I mean. On the left there now, which are appearing, and I'd imagine in years to come there'll be more of them, because especially as energy prices go through the roof. Why not? I mean, we got solar panels fitted pretty much as soon as we moved to Cyprus, and then that was like 7 years ago, and energy was a lot cheaper than it is now, and so they said at the time that they would repay themselves the cost of it in 5 years, but I think it was a lot quicker than that. You can see more of the panels there on your left. And while we're talking about solar panels, it's a good time to mention one of our site sponsors, Green Air. They will be the company to talk to if you want to get solar panels fitted. I'll put a link up there. They've been supporting us since Paphos Life was formed. Again, nearly 7 years ago, so. There's some more butchered Cyprus pines there. Admittedly, these ones look a bit neater. And fairly soon we'll be arriving at the village of Agios Dimitrianos. And again, you'll have to excuse my pronunciation. Now, there's a very nice nature trail in this village, and I wrote an article about that, which I'll put a link up for. Here we come, here's the village. It's a bit hilly, because basically you're on the side of a hill, so what do you expect? But there's a short version and a long version, and the short version's only a couple of miles, and it's very beautiful. It takes you down into the Ezousa Valley. You basically park and you start and stop here. And this is the route you'll be coming on. If you do the nature trail, you'll be walking back through the village this way. And there is, I think there's a shop here and a tavern in this village. There's certainly a nice church there and a park. And it's a beautiful little Cypriot village. There are lots of roads in it though. And I think every time I drive through here I seem to go pick a different route. But this time we got it spot on. I wanted to show you the village, but I wanted to get back onto the main road before that lorry overtook me again. I wasn't sure where to go there. I picked the right one. And now we're coming back down onto the main road. And once we're on there again, there'll be a turning to your left. And if you take that one, it'll take you to Letymbou and eventually back onto the B7, if you like alternate routes. And if you've been following our road trip, the first one that we mentioned at the start, that would have come from Letymbou and it would now have put you on this route. So this is now the same as the road trip one. And let's have a link up for that. They're only $2.50 and they're well worth it if you're wanting to explore the countryside. You can see now just how beautiful the Ezousa Valley is, and it's well worth, when you come to a little lay-by like that, just stopping to take some pictures or just to take it in, because it's stunning. We are winding our way down the valley. I'm trying to, because I know on this route that we go past a little church on the left, which is nice to go and have a look around. I'm just trying to see where the turning is for it. I don't think it's just yet. That's a good viewpoint there, if you want to stop and take pictures. There is a tiny, I'd call it a hamlet rather than a village, just up here on the right. The best one in the world. I wouldn't bother going to explore it. I think there were about 4 houses there when I went to explore it. And if you follow it down into the Ezousa Valley, it soon becomes a very rough track indeed. Certainly not one suitable for a regular car. I think that was a turning for a church on the left just there. And that's that little hamlet I was talking to you about. This is fairly typical traffic levels for out of town driving in Cyprus. Obviously if you're on the B7 you won't get as quiet as this, but these roads very rarely get busy. That's what I love about Cyprus, to be honest, one of the things. Every time I go back to the UK, you get a few like homesickness pangs from your childhood, but then you hit the traffic and it's just like, no. Anyway, we're coming into Kannaviou now, and there are a couple of nice taverns here, and there's some nice murals on the left here but soon, but I don't think you'll be able to see them in this film. And the taverns are great for their souda that they cook. I mean, if you drive down here, especially on a Sunday morning in the summertime, you'll see it spinning around and it smells absolutely gorgeous. There's the first place. That's the car park for it on the right. Then you have the second place. There's also a turning to a little village just up ahead there. Here's the second place there. There used to be a third place, I think, which is just this place here, but I believe that's closed now. And beyond that is a picnic area just there, where you can go for a nice walk as well. And we're pretty much leaving the village though now. There are a couple of more turnings to a left, which will take you to. First one takes you to Kritu Marutu, which is a very nice village to have a little look around. And beyond that is a turning to Kannaviou, which is again is a lovely village. And if you've got a 4x4 and you want to explore Paphos forest, there are a lot of routes to it from there. You can also from there you can get all the way to Polis really, but it's a tricky drive, especially in winter time, if you haven't got a decent 4x4, because when you're going through some of the fields, it's difficult to explain, but it's like very fine sand, but when it gets wet it just turns to ice and it's very easy to get stuck in it. So basically I wouldn't try it. That's the turning to that place. And then we come up to the dam itself, and from a distance you might not have even registered that there was actually a reservoir or dam there, because it's quite well camouflaged. They do that they're pretty good at camouflaging their dams in Cyprus. I mean, the Asperkremos near Paphos, unless you knew it was there, it's very easy to miss it. Obviously close up, yes, it's obvious that there's a dam there, but from a distance it wasn't so much. And we're going to stop the first part of the film when we get to the reservoir itself. I'm just going to drive right up to the reservoir so you can see what turning you need. And it's a nice place. You can go for a walk there. It's not like a nature trail, because all you're effectively doing is walking up and down the reservoir, but it's a fairly long one. And so if you've got a quarter of an hour spare and you want to stretch your legs for a bit, then just go have a little wander. But if you want a longer walk, wait till you get to Pano Panagia, because there's a corker of a nature trail that goes all the way to the top of a huge hill. But we're turning in here into the reservoir. And so for now, I'll bid you farewell. I'll be doing, as I said, it's a 4-part film. So in part 2, we'll go through Pano Panagia and around Statos area. So look out for that, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.